The revelations of the night take precedence over the night itself. Instead of end, people now question why he take a step back. It is a decision to walk, and in his decision is made at a certain time. He claims that he didn't go or left off because he thought they needed for witnessing them kissing in the car, not because he was angry or confused. No detail spreads more quickly than that one. It explains his absence. It shows anything. It clarifies why he is not involved in the subsequent events. Additionally, many find that distinction appealing on the internet. At the same time, being present versus opting out, meaning versus leaving, stairs versus home. Viewers hear Tamar's interview in a different way as they loop back to it. Her words remain the same. Significance shifts. Stairs. That one upstairs with her, so I didn't have to accompany her. You are entirely correct. A true buddy would have gone upstairs. I have no idea what to me. Instead of sounding confused, start sounding narrative or emotional. It's as though she's positioned just far enough point to avoid taking ownership of it. And that's where the theories begin. Says, but rather what she says. Individuals observe that she doesn't identify anyone, doesn't explain who is present, doesn't explain how individuals would find out later. She acknowledges other people. She just speaks softly enough for nothing to stick. Funky continues to name penalties in the meanwhile. He discussed the messages, the way blogs portrayed him, asked him why he didn't go upstairs, and why he didn't defend her. Angle, recurring theme to counter that framing. He returned home. The contrast turns into hot. On one side, a narrative composed of soft language and gaps in memory. A narrative based on discomfort. Further is not internet. By the time this part of the story, it has created a map. The audience isn't convinced of what took place above. They have a completely different, that the locations where the story seems the safest are not where whatever it may be resides. And everything that comes after this is heard differently as a result of that awareness. Delve more into the video. One thing becomes more apparent. This goes beyond what transpired that evening. It concerns what transpired following the story's online publication. Because when Funky presents his response goes inward. Wonder why some things were like and why others were treated. Funky on his own range. He clarifies that disagreement wasn't what irritated him the most. It was the actor without thinking about the people it would drag into the maelstrom. With everyone's consent, I will now be portrayed as the messy underscore. He claims that things got out of hand as soon as Tamar went online and talked about what he makes reference to her previous statement in a pool of blood and nearly died, emphasizing how that statement instantly caused fear. At that point, the divide into factions. Some viewers concentrate on how serious that is. Others concentrate on the ensuing paradox. In the same breath, however, a dissent shows up. One in which he declines to call an ambulance when someone advises doing so. He remembers her telling him wanted to call for medical assistance, but she refused. People don't make snap judgments. Instead, they draw inconsistency. Why refuse assistance if the situation was as bad as first reported? Should why publicly present it that way when it wasn't? The questions stack rather than accuse. Additionally, as those queries suddenly, Funky's voice shifts once more. He makes unease with the circumstances didn't start with the end of the night. He described sitting on him and how they kept getting together. The manner their exchange transpired in front of him, both online and in public. That particular information is not regarded as evidence. It is handled similarly to context. People start to reframe past experience, not previous. Old footage come back to life. Informal conversations be reinterpreted. His signals, not a scandal. The narrative then narrows once more. Going back to that Funky gives a reason for not going upstairs that evening. Practically, not defensively, nor fiercely. That he made a choice based on his perceptions and emotions. He claims he assumed they needed privacy and decided to leave after witnessing them sharing a kiss, and this becomes a watershed in the way the internet interprets everything else. When Funky starts removing himself from the scene upstairs, turns into an area he stays out of. He claims not to have seen what transpired next, notes that others did. He claims that those who accompanied her upstairs would be more informed about what transpired subsequently. No one is directly accused. It diverts attention, but it doesn't explain what happened. Abruptly, Funky becomes completely unimportant. The unanswered area gets bigger and louder if he wasn't present, and she claims she doesn't know what happened. The internet responds right away. Commenters debate accountability, who ought to have stayed, and what would have done. In response, challenges the notion that his absence is equivalent to guilt. He implies that the person who stayed behind wasn't him when he claims that a truth stares. The implications of that moment, rather than the drama, are what make it so powerful on the internet. It reroutes and reframes the criticism he's been getting. In other scenes, viewers start to wonder why the blame first fell where it did. Spunky recognizes the label he knows he's going to wear as this happens. He claims that he would be referred to as messy, that he will be Joy's turmoil, that he will be accused of business. After that, judges it. He grants authorization for if hires people to perceive him as messy, then so be it. The tone is altered by that admission. It doesn't sound like someone should. It sounds like someone would rather cause harm than remain silent. And viewers notice that change right away. The weariness in his voice doesn't fit the stereotype he is currently discussing. A new perspective is being applied to no longer seems neutral. It has a protective rather than a malevolent sense of strategy. It begins to sound like containment when she refuses to give about who was above. People start implying perplexity. She is cautious not because she has nothing to say, but rather because speaking up could bring more harm than good. The notion that her quiet constitutes a limit rather than emptiness spreads. And that's when a new meaning is given to the words "won't hide anymore." Because she hasn't revealed anything more to viewers thus far. Fills in the gaps left by her. She doesn't. They shrink. They constrict until a single interpretation feels feasible for a large number of viewers. By the time this part of the story ends, time longer enough to satisfy the internet. It seeks motivation. Why only make it available to the public when specifics may dispel doubt and ambiguous? And why does it seem like everyone is responding to the repercussions rather than causes? Although such questions remain unanswered, they alter how the quiet is perceived and explain why the future seems inevitable. By now, online discourse has shifted to pattern recognition. Clips are no longer being watched by anyone. They are observing changes in language, tone, and conduct. Statements change as repercussions become apparent. Additionally, it's more noticeable the more times they watch the video. As the strain increases, Tamar's remarks remain unchanged. Titan. Her answer seems transparent enough to elicit sympathy at first. She talks of routine and not knowing what transpired. However, after fun starts to circulate, rather than changing for his specific blanks, pointing out how strange that is when there is actual confusion. People tend to over-complain. They ask aloud for clarity.